Hello, everyone. And I was just thinking of this one time when we also met in a group, and I think we called ourselves the cool group of hot people, or the hot group of cool people. You can choose, but both is really a compliment. So thank you for being here, making your way through the heat, and also thank you very much, dear audience on Zoom, for joining us from far and near and for making time in your busy day. I know Wednesdays is a teaching day. So I really appreciate for those who could still make it. It's really a wonderful opportunity that we have here with us today, Dr. Krista Hiser. We will have a proper introduction through Alex. So I wanted to just take a step back and say, what is the occasion to host such a wonderful lecture? And it's offered through a new project from the Innovation Campus Sustainability. We have the two executive directors here with us, Dörte Peters from the University of Freiburg, and hello, Miriam Jordan from Karlsruhe Institute of Technology. So the Innovation Campus for Sustainability was or is focused on offering sustainability projects that are conducted together between practice partners and sustainability scholars and scientists and other scholars and researchers. And now there's the first educational project that is part of the series of projects within Innovation Campus Sustainability. And this project is the host today, and it's called here Transdisziplinäre und transformative Nachhaltigkeitsbildung. It's obviously a German-based project. Thank you.
Press the down button like you really mean it. There you go.
Oh, let's see. You press hard as you. So I just wanted to give a short overview of this project. We will be hosting a lecture series as this one, as part of this project. The goal of this project is quite ambitious. The project hopes to really enhance, accelerate, deepen the transformative sustainability education at the different institutes of higher education in Baden-Württemberg. And because this is a little bit a mouthful, the transdisciplinary transformative sustainability education, I wanted to just take a moment to unpack this. Transdisciplinary refers, as was alluded to when I introduced Innovation Campus Sustainability, to the collaboration between science and practice here, specifically to facilitate students' opportunities to collaborate with practice partners on sustainability innovations. And then the transformative part has two meanings. For one, it wants to change the world outside, so kind of a systems perspective. How can we build solutions to sustainability problems through transdisciplinary collaboration? And because this work is on the one hand side interesting and exciting, but also daunting and scary, it also has an inward-looking focus that we want to create really impactful educational experiences that are transformative of the inner world. Maybe certain values are moving and one recognizes that certain behaviors or lifestyles are maybe more conducive to sustainability than others. And then the third very core element to the Innovation Campus Sustainability Education Project is this focus on partnerships. It's a partnership between the University of Freiburg and Karlsruhe Institute of Technology, KIT. And it's a partnership sponsored through the land of Baden-Württemberg, the Ministry of Science, Research and Art. And it aims to create partnerships with the different higher education institutions across Baden-Württemberg. And at this point, Susanne, you have been smiling, but maybe you could also wave your hand and ask to our Zoom audience. I'm welcoming also Susanne Gersberger, the co-lead of the project from the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology, and the two of us, we are coordinating the project, and a variety of our staff members or collaborators are here with us in the audience and also online. So without further ado, I think now is the time to hand it over to introduce our guest of the hour, and I hand it over to Alex Rainey, who works in the ICN-TTNB.
Great, thank you so much, Katja. Here, I'll take that. Okay, so I'm very excited that I get to be the one to introduce Krista. I feel like this was almost a privilege that I got handed by Katja. I had the great fortune of working with both Katja and Krista in the past, and you'll see some of that work reflected in the presentation today. So for the formal stuff, Dr. Krista Hiser is the director of the Sustainability Education Accreditation Commission in the United States. She began this endeavor as senior advisor and lead for sustainability education at the Global Council for Science and the Environment, and then continued the work as a part of the founding board of the National Sustainability Society. Krista was also very recently selected as the 2026 ASHE Fellow. That's the Association for the Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education. This fellowship recognizing mid-career contributions to sustainability in higher ed. She was formerly the director of the University of Hawaii System Center for Sustainability Across the Curriculum and received her doctoral degree in educational administration from the University of Hawaii at Manoa. She is also author of the blog Field Notes, Teaching Climate Change in Higher Education, and has studied sustainability curriculum in higher education since 2003. I'd also like to congratulate Krista on her recent retirement from 25 years of teaching as a full professor of writing, research, and literature at Kapi'olani Community College, with an emphasis on sustainability, climate change education, and community resilience. Her interests, as you will see today, include transformative learning, faculty identity and development, and program evaluation, and also dancing, and you should really ask her about that. Now, on a personal note, I'm really excited to have Krista here because of the unique qualities that she brings to this particular kind of work. In a system that is often rigid and competitive, and dare I say it, frustrating sometimes, Krista remains open and collaborative, and I think for a very good reason, which she'll share today, optimistic about transformation towards sustainability in higher education. Please join me in welcoming Krista Hiser.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you. And thank you, Katja, for inviting me. It's my first time in Germany, so I'm very excited to be here and really to share this work as an update with Alex and Katja, who have been part of this work. So thank you so much. And I am very pleased to present to you, Katja. Just stand still and I can bring it. I'm pleased to present to you the last of my printed copies, our first print run anyway. This is the very last one of our sustainability education guidelines for sustainability and sustainability related degree and certificate programs in higher education. This is for you. I did autograph it, and inside the inscription says, indeed, without you, Katja, none of this would exist. Oh, no, thank you.
Maybe take a picture.
Yeah, can you, I'm so sorry. Yeah, one more.
You too.
Thank you. Okay, great.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so I always like to begin with all the ways you can connect with me, with the SEAC, and with this work. The things that I'll mention today are all available on our website. The guidelines document can be downloaded on our website, and I encourage you to engage with our LinkedIn page for the SEAC. I'm trying to up my LinkedIn game. I appreciate your engagement there, and feel free to email me. I'd love to continue a conversation with anything that arises for you today. I can almost begin today's talk. Should I be over here?
You are in
It's okay. It's a sweet spot. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. I can almost begin today's talk with a very exciting announcement of the very first ever anywhere accredited sustainability degree program. Almost. I can't tell you yet what the decision is or what the name of the university is, but it is a Master's of Arts degree in sustainability. And our decision commission will be meeting for the final decision on July 8th, and it will be announced shortly thereafter. Follow our LinkedIn. We had our first site visit, our first 33-page program evaluation using the guidelines document. It was very high quality work, really fun, very exciting and productive, and we're just very thrilled. So I can't wait to deliver this actual certificate of accreditation. We have created a set of standards and a process that is widely applicable to diverse institution types, levels, and regions. These standards, these best practices were developed with input from more than 500 people via roundtables, expert interviews, an 18-month community of practice that met twice monthly on Zoom to talk about these best practices and the visible evidence of all the innovative, great work that you are all trying to do. We have had more than $500,000 investment in grant money. That might sound like a lot. That might sound like a little. This is not a real money-making endeavor. Accreditation is very thin margins, but it's also very streamlined and can be done with a lot of volunteer peer evaluators in their contributions and leadership in the field. It's really very efficient. We have had 21 institutional teams participating through our collaborative program directors cohort. These are sort of actively in the works to advance toward accreditation with that qualifying activity. And that one program to be the first accredited is in that set of institutional logos. So you see a variety, of course, you don't know these institutions, but there are community or technical colleges, private universities, liberal arts universities, public universities, prestigious Research One universities. Again, it's a widely applicable set of dynamic, context-sensitive standards. All of this kind of leading to our 6 site visits in 2026. Those 6 site visits will be the basis of our application to become a recognized accreditor, and that's what I'll talk about today. I wanted to share this photo from one of our workshops to make a couple of points. One, this work happens with people getting together in rooms and on Zooms, just like you, just as we are doing here today. It really matters to come together and talk about these things, and things do happen. This was after a very intense 2-day workshop where we actually wrote the standards for the accreditation. And I want to share how happy these people look. They're very tired, but I love the smiles on the faces here. There's a true sense of accomplishment. And I'll also tell you that this is the guy from the program that I can't name, but I think already in this photo, he looks excited to be the first accredited program. So that's the guy. Our story, yes.
One short question to understand what you mean with accreditation. So,
Yes.
is it a mandatory? Is it a voluntary process? Is it on a state, on a federal level? So the curricula,
Yes.
at least at our university, has to be accredited
Yes.
in a mandatory
Yes.
setting, and
Excellent question. I was advised.
like an international accounting standard setting
Yes.
framework, what you will transfer to the sustainability setting.
Yes, I will go as deep on this as you want to go. I was advised not to get too into the weeds on the US context for accreditation because, of course, is different here. But I will say the US has institutional accreditors. You are an institutionally accredited university. And there's also a parallel of what's called programmatic or specialized accreditation. I'll give a couple examples throughout the talk. For example, business schools are accredited by business professionals. Hospital administration degrees are accredited by hospital administrators. I'll give one more example. Interior design degrees are accredited by interior designers because your institutional accreditor, they don't understand the professions the way the practitioners do. So it's like a parallel accreditation mechanism. Our accreditation is voluntary, and accreditation as a whole in the US, we're trying to move away from accreditation as compliance. That comes as a gatekeeping function when accreditation is connected to money, like federal student financial aid funding or federal research funding, right? Many programmatic accreditors are voluntary. It's a genuine effort to improve one's program through external peer evaluation or third-party quality assurance, and to align with employers and professionals who practice the thing. Yeah, so it's about seeing sustainability as a profession, not only as an interdisciplinary academic degree, but what do students with these degrees, a master's in sustainability, what do they go out and do? It's really an effort to define the profession. Yeah, and I can get into more of the details later, but thank you for that big picture framing. You want to add?
Maybe just one addition to this, just for the discussion after the talk. I think what the two systems that Krista, you outlined, the formal one and the parallel existing one that is voluntary and emerging, comes now as a lucky opportunity because the formal one is more and more being dismantled with the withdrawal of federal funding to federal departments.
Yes.
And so luckily there was a process in development that can now jump in and fill the void through a more peer-governed approach. And I think that is maybe something to keep in mind, not to, paint a black wall, but we never know how developments turn out in Europe. And we also see, tendencies to dismantle federal funding for education. And so I just wanted to add this as another plug into the innovative approach of this kind of accreditation system.
Yes, I would love to understand your context for this more in the discussion. I will say accreditation, funding, yes, is being dismantled, but accreditation is not being dismantled. It's actually becoming more competitive in the United States. We used to have a system where a regional accreditor would accredit all of the programs in California, for example. And now universities can choose their accreditor. So it's really great timing to introduce a new accreditor. And we're going to have to be more productive and provide more truly meaningful evaluation, not a compliance exercise. So we are right on with the timing on this project. All right, thank you for that question. We begin our story with this line. This represents a proliferation of sustainability degrees in the US context. And you can tell me more if this has happened here as well. Our story in the US, in 2006, the first sustainability program was introduced at Arizona State University. They're kind of famous for this program. There was a lot of interest. 13 other institutions created quickly sustainability degrees, sustainability programs. Then by 2012, there were 141 sustainability programs at 114 institutions. And then there was this proliferation, and there was this proliferation. And now in 2026, we don't know how many sustainability degree programs there are in the United States, because what is a sustainability degree program? What do you count? And are these programs continuing to proliferate? Does the line continue like this? Are they at maturity? Was it a fad? Are they being cut? We do not know. And there are multiple researchers in the US working to create a definitive program census. So I've been working on one of these census efforts, but I thought we could play a little game. So for context, there are about 4,000 institutions of higher education in the United States. So what do you all think? Raise your hand if you think, or raise your Zoom hand. Here's your Zoom hand. If you think there are 500 or more sustainability degree programs in the United States, 500 or more. Okay.
A degree means you have a curricula specialized on
Yes, a degree with sustainability in the title, a bachelor's in sustainability and something. Yeah, very good. Yeah, keep your hand up if you think there are more than 1,000. Yeah. Okay. Raise or keep your hand up if you think there are more than 1,500. 1,500 degree programs. Raise or keep your hand up if you think there are more than 2,000. What? Raise or keep your hand up if you think it's 2,500.
Seconds, yeah.
Okay. We have 2 finalists, more than 2,500. I actually have a very small prize. How many degree programs do you think there are in the United States with sustainability in the program title?
Oh, that's.
I would
say
say
roughly 4,000 or so.
4,000. Okay. And you?
Maybe 3,000.
2,300.
Yeah.
2,300. All right. Very good.
Yeah.
Wow. So, yes, you are the winner.
Thanks.
According to our unpublished,
Sorry, again.
our unpublished AI-driven research, we did have advanced AI tool that we used with a rigorous query, but it is not verified. It is not yet published, but it will be. The number we have is 2,792 degree programs with sustainability in their program title. And that's only 4-year public institutions, no private, no technical colleges. This is for you. It's a small keychain. It says Aloha from Hawaii. Aloha from Hawaii. So exciting. Yes, that number, because we've been playing that game for quite a few years. How many programs are there that could be accredited? We proliferated all these programs based on student interest and concern, right? Students wanted more opportunities to learn about sustainability, more degrees that would prepare them for, work where they could contribute to sustainability solutions. But now they're confused because what do I major in? There's so many degrees. How can I compare different institutions' degrees? What does a bachelor's in sustainability mean? What career will it lead me to? So it's often, a bit random that students fall into this degree field, right? Alex Ramey has a master's degree in sustainability, right? So I always look to her. It didn't exist when I got a master's degree. So I always look to Alex and people in this next generation of scholarship to kind of learn, how do you fall into this degree field, right? And how can we make it more clear? How can we make it more visible to students? How can we make it more valuable to students and their families, right? Their families are like, you want to major in what? How can we make it more valuable to employers so that they know what sustainability graduates can do? And also, this confused stock photo represents the demographic of who majors in sustainability. In the United States, overwhelmingly, over 85% of students with a master's in sustainability are female, and over 80% are Caucasian. A big part of this grant was to change who majors in sustainability, to bring more diversity to the field of sustainability. Otherwise, we are replicating a professional status quo. How do we diversify a sustainability workforce? And I'm talking ethnic diversity. I'm also talking rural diversity and opportunities in rural communities to get sustainability degrees. These are called learning deserts sometimes, where a degree is not available. How do we make it more diverse by creating just more accessibility to the degree field? Of course, all of this is happening as we face many challenges in the higher education sector. I am sure you and your administrators are talking about these things: the demographic cliff, consolidation of programs, closure of some institutions, especially smaller colleges, technical colleges. How do we create the future workforce? All of these things. And AI wasn't even a thing when I started on this project. And then as we're thinking about these things, there's this background of climate change, climate impacts, food and water sustainability issues that increase the urgency of strengthening these programs and integrating this preparation for climate impacts and addressing these sustainability challenges in higher education. That was my introduction, and that's what motivates me for this work. Here's the parts that I'd like to talk about today. First, I'm going to talk about how we leveraged the key competencies in sustainability framework. We used this quote in a book chapter that we wrote about our theory of change, choosing to focus at the program level to integrate and bring in a coherent set of competencies. The key competencies framework, the important words here are they're interconnected. This is interrelated knowledge, skills, and attitudes to address real-world sustainability challenges. Those are the key words I want you to see there. You may have seen this model of the key competencies in sustainability framework. It is an integrated problem-solving framework. Step 1, step 2, step 3. You can do all the planning you want, but how do you implement a sustainability solution, right? This is about solutions-based teaching. If you can't implement it, you're just spinning your wheels, right? It takes a lot of different competencies to reach that implementation or the integrated problem-solving competency. So again, problem-solving requires many different skills and competencies, and they arise together. They develop together. They reinforce each other. So you see values thinking in several of the steps of the process. And Katja always would say, values thinking plays a leading role. So this is about how we communicate with stakeholder groups, how we understand our own values and the value systems of others. That's an overview of the key competencies in sustainability. This is another slide that I use very frequently. People love this slide because it clarifies how the key competencies can provide coherence across different dimensions of sustainability education. Like, what are we talking about? What is a sustainability program? Most institutions in the US have all 4 of these dimensions. And we use this language to clarify the question, what are you talking about? What would we accredit? Yeah. So here's another game where you get to have a little stretch break. And those of you on Zoom can also have a stretch. So many institutions in the US and maybe here, I don't know, tell me, do you have a general education requirement related to climate change, sustainability? Stand up and stretch if your institution has or is discussing a general education requirement to ensure that students understand climate change, sustainability challenges, and how it's going to affect their future. Janet. No stretch. Okay. Sustain. Oh, then stretch.
I'm not stretching with you.
All right,
Okay, very good. That's so good. Thank you. This second column, oh, in the general education, right, you have general competencies. Students have to learn math and stuff, you know. You begin building professional skills like teamwork and collaboration, you know, all these things are the gen ed curriculum. You get content knowledge in your general education courses like history and biology. And you might get a little bit of key competencies, the introduction of systems thinking or concepts like this, a little bit of key competencies. The second column, we use this as a real term of art in the US, sustainability across the curriculum. This refers to a course with a designation that it's a sustainability course. Some schools use a little green leaf on the course. I taught sustainability focused writing courses and literature courses, and we read climate fiction books, and I had a little green leaf. If you take maybe 4 or 5 sustainability designated courses, you could get a minor in sustainability. So you get to get up and stretch if your institution has a minor or a sustainability designation. Anyway, you want to stretch. Okay. Yay! Oh, it feels so good. Oh, good. Look at that. Nice. Nice. Yes. Maybe not the armpit. You don't have to stretch.
Yeah.
Okay. So sustainability across the curriculum, we wouldn't accredit a minor. That just doesn't make sense. It's not what we're talking about. Sustainability related, discipline based. This is your green MBA. This is your architecture degree with an emphasis on sustainable building, right? A green MBA or this architecture degree, it's still an architecture degree, but they're infusing more of the key competencies, right? We could accredit this type of program. A business program is accredited by the business accreditor in the US. But who's vouching for its sustainability content? It's still a business program with an add-on of sustainability or a green infusion, if you will. And then this last category, sustainability degree programs, masters in sustainability, bachelors of science in applied sustainability. Yeah. How many of you have a degree like that at your institution? Or you yourself have it?
Not at our institution, but as a plug, we have here members in the Zoom audience from the Hochschule für nachhaltige Entwicklung Eberswalde, the University of Sustainable Development at Eberswalde, who are actually in the process of turning the whole university into the far-right model.
Yeah, Alexandra Wolf is raising her digital hand right now.
Maybe
Yes,
invite them
yes.
to the discussion, maybe to respond and share a little bit. And they also come once to this lecture series, and we'll talk about it on 13th of July.
Right. They're all good. This is what we wanted. This is transforming higher education. This is a yes and. It does create a little internal competition for students between programs, for faculty who teach sustainability. But it also means that we need to even make it more clear what a sustainability degree is. How is a sustainability degree different from a minor in sustainability, right? And the key competencies, again, are part of how we demonstrate that real world problem solving skill.
This is me.
What? Okay. Oh, and now I would like to share with you a tool that we created to introduce the key competencies framework. Faculty we worked with told us that they wanted stuff to work with. They wanted material to introduce the key competencies framework to their students. We worked with a Swiss company to create this portal. that I call it. And I wanted to share it with you today because they charged Swiss money for this project. And I think it's very beautiful. Alex, if you would click the biosphere statement. This portal was really designed to slow us down when we think about what the key competencies are. It's not a checklist. It's about this sentence. I'm just going to read the first line. The true metric at the center of sustainability education is the thriving of life on Earth. I say this to myself sometimes, right? And then we bring in people, communities as part of nature. We are part of nature, yeah? This is our true metric. And then we have a justice statement, and then the icons beckon. And if you click on each of the icons, there is an official definition of each of the key competencies in sustainability. And folks we've worked with have found this really helpful. And we, again, just really wanted to demonstrate the interconnectedness because it really is so important. We're not going to click on this button, but if you did, it would take you to a learning module. You could use this for yourself. You could use it with your students. It has a little video about each of the competencies and an application of the problem-solving process to a campus-based sustainability challenge. There's a little workbook where students can apply the key competencies to a sustainability challenge on their own campus or in their own community. It's very, very cool learning module. There's even a little certificate. So I hope you'll check that out. The key competencies has been useful in my work and in the US. Many people have adopted it and created a couple of reports. These are also free, very easy to find. The one on the top is related to developing curriculum, what you teach, related to key competencies. The green one is related to pedagogies, how you teach it. How do you innovate teaching practices that build and develop the key competencies? Increasingly, really cool assessment methods and new ways of thinking about assessing the key competencies are being explored. The key competencies are useful for students in their career search and transition to be able to articulate to employers what they can do with sustainability competencies. We're going to look at a little bit of an example of key competencies in program learning outcomes. And of course, we have used the key competencies in sustainability framework as a real foundation of our accreditation guidelines. And I'm going to talk more about that, but not too much more, don't worry. Okay, we have a core standard. The first standard in the first area mentions the key competencies framework. And this standard says that your program learning outcomes are informed by a competency framework, like the key competencies in sustainability. So we ask programs to look at their program learning outcomes. All right, a lot of words here. These are the 6 actual real life program learning outcomes of a master's program in sustainability. That means at the end of this master's degree, this is what the graduates can do, right? So we go in and we look at how the language of the key competencies appears in what people have right now, yeah? And we see which of the key competencies appear in different program learning outcomes. There's no one way that programs need to say it or list it or, impose it. It's already there in the language. And we think the key competencies helps to clarify how that language shows up in program learning outcomes. Then we ask our program directors to look at core courses in the program and how that competency is developed over multiple experiences by your students, by your graduates. How do they interrelate their key competencies? How do they practice? How do they develop from a novice to an intermediate to a professional level in their application? Yeah.
Question, do you share the presentation?
Absolutely, yes. I would love to. Absolutely. Then we have program directors. So this gives you a sense of depth. What can students do as they progress through a master's degree in sustainability, for that example? That's your depth. And then we have program directors look at their program learning outcomes together. And this, over time, is how they will learn from each other and begin to align a little better. Again, it's not imposing anything on them, but they say, oh, we're teaching that too. We just said it a little bit differently. Over time, this will create more coherence across degree programs so employers know what those graduates can do. There will never be one magical program learning outcome that everybody uses, but we can have a little bit greater coherence. Oops.
One question, what do you mean with implementation?
The implementation competency, yeah, that's being able to do the thing. Yeah, how do you go out in the community and start a post-consumer composting program at an elementary school? These are the kinds of projects that lots of programs use to do community engagement, real world implementation projects. Yeah, learning by doing, we would call it. Excellent point.
I'm asking because we are doing a lot of experience-based learning and other things, design thinking processes. And in the course with only 12 weeks, I can discuss and try to implement the thinking, all the thinking areas and things like this.
Of course not.
But the problem is to have the possibility of implement something. And something of value with a stakeholder is usually taking place if
That's implementation competence.
yeah, but it usually takes often it's if I develop a new product, the implementation would be to produce it, to test it,
Right.
to find ways to a real innovation, and that's often there are some exclusions, but this is often not possible within 12 weeks. So I'm asking the implementation aspect here.
That's why we look at the program level over 2 years,
Okay.
over 4 years. Yeah. Yeah, cool. I'm going to move into my next section and probably skip a bunch of stuff so that we can talk about questions like yours. But I came on the project in 2021, and I want to talk about how we have kind of traced this pathway toward accreditation. How did we get to the place of accrediting this first program, which is so exciting. I came on the project in 2021, and I went to my first meeting of accreditors. First time I was ever in a room with a bunch of accreditors. And someone was speaking, and I raised my hand and very silly, asked a silly question. I said, how long will this take? How long does it take to create an accreditor? And the presenter laughed at me and said, it was a dumb question. You know, he kind of brushed me off. It was not the right question. And in a way, I know the answer to the question now. It took 5 years. But also in a way, it took 20 years. Because as I said to Katja, none of this would have happened without lots of foundational meetings and workshops and publications and scholarship. So Katja, I can't tell this story because I was doing other stuff, but you were doing this. So do you want to speak to maybe just 1 or 2 of these, what you see as pivotal steps on this timeline?
Yeah, and Arnim is also here. Maybe a pivotal step was, as you had it in 2011, where Arnim and colleagues took the effort to just look what's out there in terms of the literature on competencies in sustainability and see how these diverse pieces of publications relate to each other, and specifically relate to each other through the lens of problem solving, because that's the ultimate intention, that we learn how to make a change. And change happens by addressing the sustainability challenges we face and participate in solving them. So I think that bringing the literature together into a framework of steps and supporting competences was of a first step into unifying a very diverse field that sometimes cannot communicate with each other because people use semantic differently words, but they mean the same. And then, as you see below, it really raised the interest of a couple of different universities, programs, institutions. And the question came up, how do you actually translate this framework into learning objectives on course level, on program level, and then how do you teach it? And so that gave the impetus to the second piece to just provide illustrations in the field from teaching and learning. How can you break it down on a bachelor level, on a master level, on a PhD level, so that you also can show a progression of how I can deepen my competency? And then I think what gave the, what you have here with NASEM, that's maybe not easily intuitive for a German-based audience, but this is the National Academy of Science,
Engineering and medicine.
Thank you. Authorities in the natural sciences in the United States, and they put out this call to strengthen sustainability programs and curricula at the undergraduate and graduate levels, emphasizing the shift from teaching purely knowledge to a competency-based approach to really embrace problem solving. And this then gave the impetus to the Council of Environmental Leads and Directors to finally move on something they had discussed since 2018, but start applying for funding towards an accreditation. And so I think, that then that's the last piece. There was a moment of hesitation because they were saying, well, we have these lists, we have these frameworks of competencies. How can we be sure that this is the right thing? So let's first do another study. And there was a coincidence that there was a qualitative study that we did with sustainability experts internationally, and there was a quantitative systematic PRISMA method-based literature review. And both studies identified that there is really convergence towards the 2011 proposed framework as a unifying reference framework that is generic enough to allow programs to adapt it to their situated positionality, but still provides a common guidance. And so I think then we could, submit the grant application. That's where you came in.
Yes, yes, thank you. Thank you for that. I read those papers when I was teaching my sustainability focused English class, I read those papers as a teacher, and then I realized their importance as the foundation of this work. Oops. So the rest of the timeline, the workshops and the activities and the meetings of people in rooms continue, and then sort of pivotal publications have come out of it. And each publication has been a handhold to the next step. The proposal statement I worked on with Katja and Dr. Jordan King, really interviewing experts and professors and directors on convergence or uptake around the key competencies framework. And then, of course, leading to the actual crafting of the guidelines for sustainability, which was the first time that we really said, okay, let's try accreditation. I think that's all I need to say on that one. So in summary of this section, how do we create a future workforce that can address climate impacts and sustainability challenge? We talk about this all the time. Where do we get our change agents? Where do we get prepared sustainability professionals? This is our job. This is what we do. We need to create quality sustainability degree programs so that students can learn these skills. They need them. How do we create these programs? We use consistent standards and best practices. Yeah. How can you have consistent standards and best practices without a competency framework, right? So that's really what I mean when I say the competency framework is what we lean on. It creates a common coherence to the preparation of a sustainability professional, because that problem-solving competency is really what sustainability professionals are doing. Last section. This is where I was going to get into some nitty-gritty stuff. Well, what is it? What are you talking about? We are in halfway through a pilot. We're doing 6 site visits in 2026. 3 are bachelor's degrees, 3 are master's degrees. And those 6 visits will be the basis of our application to the Council on Higher Education Accreditation. CHIA accredits the accreditor. It's very meta. And CHIA also has an international group called the CHIA International Quality Group. It is possible there are international accreditors. So it's not a Department of Education thing. It's not a US government thing. It's a professionals thing. And CHIA is about transparency, quality assurance, and sufficient demonstration of that quality. Our accreditation process looks something like this. It's a lot of work. Yeah, it's going to take a year for you to go for a program director to go through it. Our first guy said it took about 200 hours of work. But you know what? Those are hours spent hashing things out with your colleagues. They're good conversations. They're good hours. And what is most important is that through this whole process, the pre-visit, the site visit, the class observations, all the interviews, at least 20 people are going to touch your program. You know, you're going to have multiple reviewers who are peers. You're going to have the decision commission really evaluating so that, you know, it's rigorous and it's relational. You're not just doing your own thing in a box and nobody knows what you're doing. So it evolves the degree. All of this results in that review decision. At the end of the day, I like to say, programs got to do program stuff, right? So these are the 8 categories of the standards. This is what's in the book. Let's just look at the core standards, and I'll just share a few things and wrap up here in a few minutes. It's what you teach, how you teach it, how you assess it. And then at the center of all that is how do you organize a multi-inter-transdisciplinary unit? This is where a lot of the kind of problems arise, where faculty get stretched too thin, budgets are stretched too far, and nobody has quite figured out what transdisciplinary really looks like successfully as a unit, as a department, right? If you're an administrator, you have struggled with this issue. So we tried to look for the visible evidence, again, that describes all of the innovation and intentions of what you're trying to do. So there are 4 core areas. Each one has 4 standards, a description, and some examples of the type of evidence and narrative. How would you tell the story of how your program meets these different standards? The process is holistic. It's not 80%. It's not like if you miss one, you're out. It's how do you beat it? We think that which we're testing right now, but we think that these standards can be applicable to an associate's degree or a certificate, as well as to a master's degree. We think they can be applicable to a wide range of institutional contexts, regional context, place-based is important. There's no one way to do sustainability. And we really think this works as a holistic developmental method of evaluation. We really think that this is how we can improve and strengthen programs so that they can be stronger and improve and strengthen their institutions and thus be a lever to change and transform higher education. That's what I got. I do have a couple of takeaways. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, I'm just going to share a couple of, you know, as we were working on this talk, it really gave me an opportunity to reflect on what does this all mean to me. So I have a couple of ideas. I want to give you 30 seconds to just kind of take a breath, maybe jot down a note to yourself. What does this mean to you? What's your takeaway? What applicability does this have for your work? I'm going to take a couple deep breaths while you reflect. All right, here's one of my takeaways. As I was preparing this talk for you today, it came to me that we really can iterate instead of proliferating. You know, the time of proliferation was awesome. We made a lot of cool stuff. We have great ideas. But when we work together on something, even if it's not perfect or exactly what we want, we can iterate it together. We can evolve it together. And I think we have more potential to transform our institutions through this iteration rather than proliferation. That's one of my takeaways for today. I'm going to share one more. I have no idea where I am right now. And you know, I'm walking around, it's hot. I'm looking at my map on the phone. And you know this button when you're on a journey on a map and it says recenter the journey. Oh, this is where I am, right? It's kind of like that. I really want this work to take all the great ideas from the edge and bring them into the center, right? All the awesome sustainability educators that I know work way too much. They're doing awesome stuff on top of all their other stuff. They're doing field projects on the weekends. Yeah, you're nodding, right? Okay, so same, right? All of that is the new center, right? That is what a sustainability education program is. That's transformation. So redefining the standards of what that is. That's my goal. I have one more takeaway, but I'm going to bring it up in a little bit. Kind of let it be a last word for all of us. And here I'd like to start our discussion section and invite Katja to moderate that section. Feel free to speak in German if you want to have that conversation. Thank you, Danke. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share. I'd love to know if you have any questions or discuss your takeaways and what this means to your work in the TTNB project. Thank you.
Thank you so much for applauding. I'm sure also on Zoom, that would have been my response to your Danke. Thank you. Thank you for introducing us on the journey, and we keep the fingers crossed for 8th of July for who will be elected there. Yeah, before I go into the discussion, I just wanted to share two thoughts. One is, adding to the personal note, you're not just an amazing dancer, but also a storyteller. I really felt sometimes what is missing in sustainability education is the ability to captivate your audience and take the audience on a journey. And you did this for me, and I see nodding here in the audience. Congratulations, that was very nice to follow your talk. And then also I wanted to just send a note of encouragement for all of you. We might be at different places with regards to this journey. But also, Krista, you started out, you know, in a course. You first did your own thing, then you connected with other faculty in your department, then you kind of had shadow discussions in the college. From there, you got then appointed to the Office of System Transformation, which then got dismantled because you became too radical of an institutional entrepreneur. And now you work with different universities of diverse types in the US and bring them in a conversation where we have the depth of the individual program through a collective governance process that is kind of peer-based. And so I think we can all, you know, see ourselves, where are we? And it's never too late to become an institutional entrepreneur. That was maybe one of my takeaways. And I see, you have a note there?
Yeah, I have a quick note. Thank you so much, Krista, for presentation and especially the storyline. That's wonderful. But I really want to start with the statement of gratitude and appreciation, because when we joined the School of Sustainability in 2008, I can't believe it. It was a long time ago. And when we then in 2009 started to think about it would be good to know what we're working towards. I mean, the idea of the key competencies was born in discussion, or many discussions, but it was born by our own quest. First school of sustainability, first, master's, doctoral programs in sustainability. But what are we teaching towards? What is the ultimate goal of what we're doing? So when we started there, we were hoping for champions at one point to take this somewhere, right? But when we started, we did the usual thing. We published a scientific article, and then as something that we assign, we would be sending out in the world. So it really, really needed people and there are probably just a handful in the world like you, really taking it to a level of institutionalization, of where it can thrive, where it can distribute, where it can really unfold its full potential. And I think it's such a powerful story of, this was initially a very small group thinking about something, and it really needed, all your work to bring it to that level. This is really deeply, deeply appreciated. I have another little story and then a question related to this. As you know, Megan Yarcho, you have her, University of all the places, you have seen it maybe only in passing, right? There is the University of South Dakota on that map.
Pilot.
Exactly. And I mean, I don't know who has been to South Dakota. I've been to South Dakota several times, but only because of one person. And it's one of the most powerful stories of, one person just taking, no, not for an answer that is, acceptable. And she continues to be, but she was back then an assistant professor, just a powerhouse of creating the second degree program, the second doctoral degree program in sustainability was at the University of South Dakota because of one woman, because of that assistant professor who just said, that's what we need. Let's fight for it as long as it takes. But now we are at this different stage. We are at the stage where it's maybe, and I want to kind of get your perspective on this. You've seen this now so many years, and you've seen it on institutional levels of growth and proliferation, and hopefully more centered and strategic things. But what would you say right now? How important is it still to have those individual champions, right? Like back in the days when nobody was listening, versus what is needed now? I mean, what kind of people are you looking for to get from the 6 you start with now to, the hundreds and even thousands of, potentially accredited sustainability programs?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. Something I say a lot is, look, this is a degree field that is now at maturity. This is 20 years. So in 2006, here's 20 years. It's time to tighten it up, clean it up. What are we doing? What is the vision? And so it's the maturity process. And something I say to those champions is, here's your opportunity to institutionalize all your energy, because those people are burning out. Our champions are burning out, especially in the US. The past few years have been very difficult. People are burning out and they're aging out. So we need to create the academic programs for next generation scholars like Alex to step into and create the pathway for PhDs in sustainability. What kind of programs are they going to be teaching it? So here's really the opportunity, I tell the program directors, to up-level your program, align it with your peers so that we're all stronger together, so that there is an academic pathway and a professional path for sustainability for the next champions, right? And hopefully they won't have to beat their head so hard against the wall, right? It is frustrating. So that's what I would say. Oh, and something I heard last night in our program director's cohort final meeting, which was from 8:30 to 10:30 last night. So it was crazy. But one thing we heard in our final session was the need for faculty. You mentioned Megan as an assistant or associate professor. There's like two brains. There's a faculty brain, there's an administrative brain. And those kind of mid-level people, program directors, it's really hard being in that level. They're not in the C-suite, they're not the president's office, they got no budget, they got no power. They need to develop two brains and think a little more admin brain. I thought that was a great comment that we heard last night.
I'm wondering, Krista, exactly along those lines, right? What kind of support are we still offering to those, right, that need to play these roles? I mean, exactly like what you described, right? I mean,
Yeah.
just hoping that they develop those brains. I
Yeah.
think we need to, find ways of supporting them more.
Do you have an answer?
No, but it's a question that's directly related to this because, I mean, I think everybody in this room knows that we just went through the excellence application for our university.
Yeah.
I don't know how much that costs, but of course, this is an endeavor that the entire university invests in. And this accreditation site visit also seems necessarily rigorous and I imagine probably expensive or resource demanding from not just the STAR faculty and staff members who are pursuing this, but also really university support from higher levels of the administration. I'm wondering if there's been difficulty in the universities that you've been partnering with to like within their own universities to get the support and the recognition for the validity of this.
Absolutely. It's a new idea.
Yeah.
It's programmatic accreditation for sustainability is a new idea. And a lot of the faculty are used to being more aligned to an academic discipline like biology. There's no accreditor for biology, or like the humanities. Nobody accredits the humanities. And it's a shift to think more like a profession, more like architecture, interior design, business school. So we have the same in the US. There's ASHE stars, there's a Carnegie classification for sustainability. To me, accreditation is different because it's meaningful to a different audience, right? An employer does not care that you went to an excellence school. The employer doesn't care. The employer cares that you graduated from an accredited program, right? Mm-hmm. So prospective student might find that marker nice for your institution. Oh, that's nice. But it's not meaningful to an employer. This is professional driven, right? Does that make sense? Like they don't care that you were ASHE Platinum, if you guys know that ASHE marker. Your employer doesn't hire you because you went to an ASHE Platinum school. They don't care. Yeah, does that answer that question?
Yeah.
It is a big issue. It is a big issue. Time and money are the big issue. And again, we think we can do it in a way that provides professional development, a network in a community for the program directors who are squeezed between the faculty and the admin and the president and trying to do this work. We give them a network, a community, and frankly, this booklet, they're like, thank you. Now I have a thing to measure our program on. It helps them do program evaluation, curriculum updates, new program design. They're like, thank you. I have something to hang my hat on. Yeah, that's all. Maybe also.
Adding to this point, I think what you said before really will stick with me. It's a good hour. You know, 200 hours, but these are good hours in most cases. And in that sense, I really like the reframing of accreditation. Accreditation is not something that we do at the end where we check for compliance or to get the stamp, but accreditation reminds me of in learning, we speak about formative evaluation. We do evaluation to check in, to see what we are learning, how we have learned, how we can improve, how we can better achieve our goal together. And so that was one aspect of the reframing that accreditation is not anymore compliance, but it is developmental evaluation that allows us to have an institutional development process. And in that sense, I had to think of the relevance of this process maybe for our project, because it brings individual programs together that are very different. You also mentioned that you have technical colleges, maybe medical colleges, you have R1 universities, excellence universities in our context. So I think there were a lot of parallel. We try to do capacity building for teachers and educators, but that's what you do too. Only you call it transformative accreditation. So I like to rethink about, you know, the time as a time where we can grow together at the individual institution and with each other. And speaking about growing together, I wanted now to remind you of your takeaway. Maybe, you know, it would be a good time to share your takeaway. And also, if you have a question, a comment associated with this, please share it. Also, if you have concerns, this is, you know, a safe space. And maybe you say, yes, but we heard that this is a common reaction. So wherever you want to draw from, but we would love to hear from you. And maybe we could do the round. Susanna, would you like to share your takeaway and any other thoughts, questions, comments?
I can start. Thank you. Thank you, Krista, for this amazing lecture. And as Katja said, I would love to hear it for hours. But I want to talk about my takeaway, and it's more a task, I think. I know that the KIT has a self-accreditation process. So maybe that's something that came to my mind. Maybe it's important to have a look into this self-accreditation process and try to figure out if there's a way to insert some of these briefs. I would love to hear more, or I will read more in your documentation. That's my takeaway. And then I have a lot of questions, but I will pick out a very small one. I have a big one, but I will write it in the email. The small one is you talked that there are 2,792 programs that deal with sustainability, and they have sustainability as a word and title. Now we have a new program at the Faculty of Architecture that is called Just Urban Transformation. So there's no, or this was a clear decision not to use the word sustainability. So my question is, how do you make sure that you don't leave some programs behind? We can talk about this later, but to be sure that everyone can share his takeaway.
Maybe that's a good idea. I see, Krista. Thank you for writing down the questions, because then we can just go around the room, and then we also see where there are maybe clusters that you can then collectively answer. Can I invite you to introduce yourself quickly and then share your takeaway and question, comment? Thank you.
Katja McCaffrey from the Department of Teaching Strategy and Digitalization. My takeaway was there were several. I mean, it's inspired me a lot, and it got me thinking how to get the topic of sustainability, you know, into the curriculum or teaching programs, or into the in the programs that we have. And that there are several levels of how you could do it. I know we've got already some program that have, you know, for example, at the ZFS here. Yeah, so that's the main thing that got me thinking, but also that I have a lot of questions about how are things in Germany, actually. I mean, because you talked about the US now, and that I don't know how, for example, how are things in Germany, but also at our university. And so that's maybe a good sort of basis to get into dialogue now, actually, with you guys, and to see where are we at this level of maturity, maybe. Yeah.
I'm Sophia. I'm a doctoral researcher at the Humboldt Professorship for Sustainable Food Economy with Arnim as my supervisor. So I think this isn't directly related to my research, but a lot of the content is related to, I guess, the work that we do here. I guess one of the takeaways that I had is more just an interesting thought idea about how this kind of institutional development can be maybe moderated or facilitated in universities. I mean, again, we just went through this excellence university, and that requires a lot of people from different faculties, disciplines, schools, faculty, staff, students to come together behind one common goal. And that is, of course, challenging and political, and disagreements can, I guess I'm just sort of curious how the mechanics of getting everybody on one page, so to speak, happens for such a process.
Yeah, Chris, thanks for the great presentation. You really captured me as a storyteller, like Katja said, and that's really great to see and to hear. Yeah, for me, it was all really interesting to see how structured you go forward step by step. And I think my basic takeaway was that I really went through such a program, which was like entirely on sustainability. In Basel, I did a master in arts and science in sustainable development. And I think that was really a great program. And now that I see this, I see, wow, it had all in, and I started 2009, it was till 2012. And what I wondered was, we have the Master of Environmental Governance here. Isn't that also a program which quite fits into which might fit? I mean, there are some parts.
It might. I think that's the right formulation. I think this is exactly what Susanna was saying, right? I mean, there are programs where sustainability doesn't appear in the title for sure, but Sophia is one of the graduates of that program, and she might object.
I taught there. I know the chair is, it was called environmental policy before, and now it's called sustainability governance. So it's, for me, it's really interesting to see what can make a degree the sustainability degree and what can't. It's really
irrespective of the word sustainability. What's really the substance, right? Yeah.
So, thank you. I have to be a little bit the time manager as well. Moderator and time manager, thank you so much. We noted down. Anu, if you allow, I make a Zoom pause at your place. And then we continue with you, Sabine. We have 2 questions from Zoom. The first one is from our friends at the Hochschule für Nachhaltige Entwicklung in Eberswalde, from whom you will hear on the 13th of July. But here, a question I let Alex please read it out for us.
Sure, and then if there was something that I misrepresent, Alexandra, then please feel free to join in, but I'll just read it now. I have a question more focusing on the general quality management. You mentioned that in the beginning, with enrollments decline and accreditation, that accreditation is not mandatory in the US. Is there a national university ranking or something similar? Which takes into account different criteria such as accreditation or the integration of sustainability into curricula. I'm wondering if this is something that potential students look for and use to choose their study program. So where does accreditation really match into the student selection process for universities? And there is a ranking.
Yeah, I'd like to just address that really briefly. It's institutional accreditation. Institutional accreditation is absolutely mandatory in the United States. You cannot obtain, students can't get any form of federal aid if they are not studying at an accredited university. Furthermore, students, there's this debate, negotiated rulemaking conversation about how much aid money students can get for a particular program of study. And the word professional is used there. So if you are going to medical school, you're eligible for X amount of dollars. But if you are going to school in the US to become a teacher, it's not a profession. It's not defined that way. And you're eligible for only, $30,000 a year or whatever. It's a much smaller amount of money. And if you're studying from a program that has no accreditation, then then your eligibility for that funding is going to be impacted. What I said is that, or what I meant to say is that this money game, gatekeeping function for money is what turned accreditation into a compliance game. That's why it's this bad reputation, like, oh, the accreditor is coming, wear your nice outfit, tell a good story, put on a good show, right? That's a compliance accreditation, and that absolutely exists. The roots of accreditation in the US were to distinguish actually colleges from high schools. And it was to say, what is a college education? And so I feel like this effort and programmatic accreditation, it's a little, there's more freedom in a voluntary accreditation. And we're trying to swing back toward true program improvement, true quality assurance. There is no mandatory sustainability licensing. You could license an individual, but we don't do that for sustainability. There have been efforts, they haven't really worked. So you could either license an individual or accredit a program. So it's a different try to work at a different level rather than licensing a sustainability individual. You're now qualified to go and do this work. We're choosing to focus at the program level. Graduating from an accredited program puts you in a directory that students do know about. Students are smart. They look at this program versus that program. Oh, this one's in a directory of accredited programs with articulated standards for what I'm going to be able to do. Students are smart. They want to go to that one. Yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to talk too much about it, but that was an excellent question. Thank you.
And Alexander says, thanks for clarifying. Should we go to the next one? Helga Moser. Hi, Helga.
Helga Moser, also from Karlsruhe Institute of Technology at the Center for Competence, Hochschulkompetenz, House of Competence. Thank you.
So Helga, I will read your question, but please feel free to unmute if you'd like to clarify anything. So linking back to this idea of a profession, my question is, are there any professional associations or employers in the US, employers on sustainability in the US? And if yes, what or how did they contribute to the process of guidelines for accreditation? Yes, I think we could very directly answer that question, but do we want to continue in the round or just answer the question right away?
Maybe we continue the round so that we have all questions, because if we have to, like at 3 officially the end, I hope we can maybe extend a little bit. If everyone can stay 5 more minutes, then we can get the questions, and Krista, you can start answering and we will share the slides. And so then we can also, add additional information. So Sabine and then Zoom. And I don't know if the two of you also want to add your questions. Please.
Okay. Yeah, hello. My name is Sabine Saleh. I'm from the University College of Freiburg. The University College Freiburg was created 2012. And at that time, I'm the major coordinator and lecturer for the environmental and sustainability sciences. So I have the term sustainability sciences in. But at that time, the major was called Earth and Environmental Sciences. And then throughout the time that I was creating that major, because we just started, and I thought, what courses do I actually put into this major to see what actually students come out with, what kind of a qualification. It's a bachelor's program of liberal arts and sciences, and the majors within this program. I was recognizing that when I looked at our study program that we had already, which was environmental sciences at the University of Freiburg, I was seeing, okay, but I do sustainability all the time, because we were so connected also with governance, which is another major, and we recognize, okay, there's so much sustainability in what we do. So I thought I have to change that major also to distinguish myself, which is now not happening anymore because they also have the sustainability now. To distinguish myself because a lot of prospective students didn't know actually, am I the same? And they didn't see the difference. And it was funny because then I also went through this journey a bit of thinking, okay, we do somehow, it's sustainability, but we have to call it different. And I said, I want to change my major. I'm one person, so each major is one person, one has to say. So I said, I want to change the major to environmental and sustainability sciences. And this was happening 2020, so we changed the major now. And I thought, is sustainability already gone, the buzzword kind of? But then I thought, but this is actually what we do. So it needs to still, it is the best term still. But what actually is it? And so I really love now, after I've been working on my own so much, to really see that now there's like more terms to define what sustainability, especially in education, means, and recognizing that I did so many things, but didn't term them, feel so motivating. They really like to see that there's something, going on in this direction. And my getaway is always when I'm here, but then there's always this, how do I put this within my time schedule? Get started, but I always think get started, make it more explicit. Also, when I just talk to students, make it much more explicit. What competencies do you have? What is it that you, because they feel sometimes lost.
I think, Krista, you can answer this, how to make it more explicit. That was one slide on the student assessment.
Exactly.
My name is Xin, and I studied biology for a bachelor degree in Korea, and I changed my direction here in Freiburg, master degree in environmental sciences, focusing on ecology of climate change. And additionally, I have professional experience for sustainable development goals. When it was adopted, I was part of one student organization, and name is ICN, and we collaborate with United Nations together. And I learned about all the concept of SDGs in the New York, and then bring that to the South Korea university students. So that kind of connection between this thing and me. And my takeaway message from this lecture is, it's quite abstract, but I want to explain. There's a right now exhibition in the cathedral in Freiburg. The name is in German unsichtbar. That means like make the invisible visible. And it reminds me of like just you've done for sustainability. Actually, sustainability, like it's not like architecture or some kind of specific natural science. We connect race and sustainability. Like we always living in a sustainability, like light, because the cathedral exhibition is about the by the thread we can see the light in a that is the exhibition. So that's why it reminds me of this exhibition. And also there's also concept, important concept in the Buddhism, like in the being in the middle way. And it's very easy to be in the extreme, like either side, like this is correct, we have to do, but think about at the same time together both and try to be in the middle and to go to our like fundamental goal is not really easy. So your whole process and ways was very impressional. It's very grateful to hear your ways. And my question is, you mentioned about there's a like a diversity in the sustainable degree programs, like 80% are women, and also their ethnic problems. I'm just wondering, like, there's any effort try to do like solve this problem, because, for example, I'm originally from Korea, And we are Korean students compared to German students, we are more focusing on kind of economic society, like focusing on how we can earn money better or how we can better like profession to be better in economic sides. So yes, that's like what I did.
And can we pick up Stefan's question about, I think it was quite profound, the question of how ambitious are we in conveying certain competencies like implementation competence. Your answer, Krista, was, well, we need to think about the program level. Yeah, I think that's correct, but we rarely do. We always think about courses. We rarely think about curriculum. I mean, really building on each other to say, okay, somebody is picking it up somewhere where I leave it. And also continuation of projects across programs, right? Of saying, yeah.
It's a standard. It's in there. As
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not talking about its standard, right? It's more the reality of, you know, what do we see good models evolving in this? I think it's good to, you know, say we should, we ought to be, but it's hard to implement.
I would rather give the floor to our audience as I have great access to Krista.
Since Alex and I will be talking about this until midnight tonight, since I'm staying with her, so let's talk later.
So Krista, then why don't you kind of round us out and then we come to the closing to your closing takeaway.
Yeah. Thank you for those takeaways. I will reflect on them and find some way to respond if there's any answer or response that I can make. I do welcome hearing from you. You can email me and so forth. I think the one thing that I would say, I did want to mention the ISSP. There was the question about professional certification, professional associations in the US. I think the most established professional association for sustainability is the International Society of Sustainability Professionals, ISSP. They created an exam. There's a qualifying exam, and they made it's a credential, a license that universities could integrate into their curriculum and then become like a testing center, and you'd get a bachelor's degree in sustainability, and then you would sit for the ISSP exam. I have had many conversations with the ISSP. I worked to implement ISSP, embed into the curriculum at University of Hawaii, and I thought this would be great. It would be value added for our graduates. They can get this entry-level professional credential. You put it after your name, ISSP. I know many people who have the ISSP credential. However, I am not seeing widespread adoption and value of the credential. I've asked many people why, and I don't know. My university didn't adopt it. They didn't go for it. Maybe it's a test. You have to study for it. I don't know. People don't want to take a test. I don't know. It still exists. I like it. I would love to work more with them. Yes, I have met with them, but I don't know why it did take off. Hasn't taken off. The other general point I will say is that I feel like what I am part of, like you can tell, what you hear is that like this is exciting and it's real, and the people who are doing this work, like they're real and they're smart and they're so much fun to talk with, and these conversations of people in rooms they're gaining momentum. It adds up to something, and I love doing this work. Sometimes I say, and I can't believe it's accreditation, like I didn't mean to grow up and become an accreditor. Like, what is that? But it's kind of like maybe a Trojan horse sort of situation. I don't know if that's a good metaphor or not, but it's like we're taking this tool that exists, this lever for change and quality evaluation. And we're evolving it, we're mutating it, we're sneaking it in, right? The subtle language in these standards is wow. And it came from people like you who embedded this in and said, these are the this is what we're trying to do. These are our standards. So it's kind of radical in a way, and it's also transformative because, as I was saying to Alex earlier, you can't innovate and change everything, or you can't innovate and have new ideas without changing anything. We can't transform the university without changing the tools that we use, right? So that's where the frustration comes from. And accreditation is one of the tools. Nobody's done it yet. Nobody's transformed the tool of accreditation to use it as a lever for sustainability. So I think that's kind of the best answer that covers the most of what I heard, and I'll try my best to follow up later with some more responses when I think about it. But thank you so much, and thank you for your articulation with the light and the middle way. Like that's all so true. It's really relational, collaborative, and kind of strengthening sustainability education together. So yeah.
You have to go.
Yeah.
There is a quick announcement I want to make before Susanne leaves, because Susanne is going to welcome all of you on the 7th of July in Karlsruhe. You can also join online, but please come. It will be a nice follow-up on today on the integrative concept of sustainable development and its potential for sustainability education. So join us again. This becomes a series. You become part of a community. We heard from Krista, together we can do better. So let's take the opportunity. You can advance. I already said this to come back here on the 13th of July. And then I think, Krista, you have your last word, and then we can let everyone go with a big applause and thank you for bringing us here together, enabling such an interesting discussion and very important perspectives for us to pick on and continue working together.
Thank you. Thank you. Those are very exciting. This last word, I'd just like to invite into the room one of our strategic advisors, one of my teachers and mentors from University of Hawaii West Oahu, Dr. Manulani Aluli-Meyer. She's one of the people we interviewed in the proposal statement. And she was one of the people who did offer some critique of the key competencies. And she was thinking this and thinking that, what is this? And I don't necessarily see myself in this. In the end, she said, you know, Krista, what you're doing, it's good enough. Like, yeah, I'll buy into it. But she also said this, and I think it's really important. And this idea of collective transformation through individual excellence, right? Like, and this is called Awamo Kuleana, and I love that she has it on her t-shirt in Hawaiian, Awamo Kuleana. This is like, you do the thing that you're doing, and then we bring all of those things together, and that's what transformation is. So recognizing the epistemologies, the worldview, like we are all doing this in our own way, and it's not about imposing a worldview or anything. So I just want to leave her words as we enjoy some water and refreshment and conversation. We'll have Auntie Manu in the room with us, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, audience, for staying with us.
Really kind comments. Thanks to everyone in the Zoom. We will follow up with the presentation and answers to your questions in our following emails. Thank you, everybody.
And thank you, Alex and Miriam, for organizing this fantastic event.
Genau, erkennt das ja. Ich finde auch extrem.